Eleanor, you told me before this show went on air that you were still thinking about it.
I said I was thinking about becoming a dual citizen, but that if Trump were to win, that would absolutely escalate my application to become a citizen of Australia. I'm not sure I'm at the point of rescinding legally my American citizenship, but in my heart, it certainly would be rescinded.
What scares you about going home at this point?
I'm terrified of going home. I'm terrified of being shot by the police. I'm terrified of crazy suburban people yelling at me and accosting me. I hate the divisiveness in the country. I hate the tone. It's just bad and it's ugly.
When we watch the images on the television screens here, we obviously think it's a long way away, that reality is far from us. Australians tend to think Americans and guns are pretty mad. What's the reality for an individual that thinks about returning home to that?
Even though I live here, I feel like I'm right there. I feel all the tension and the strain, and even as I'm talking about it, I mean, I thought I was just coming to sit in the audience, and here I am getting all emotional because you're asking me about things that are very close to me and dear to my heart, the people that I love, my family and my friends. I hate what America has become right now, and I'm hoping that it's very temporary, even though there's an expression, the evils have been unleashed, so who knows if we can ever get back to where we
Are there genuinely dark moments for you when you think about your country, reflect on your country? I mean, have you shed a tear thinking about it?
Absolutely. It's terrifying. This is my partner here. I won't even allow him and his friends to discuss Trump in my presence because at a social event, it can totally turn the entire tenor of the evening for me. It's not something to be taken lightly.
What's your question for the panel tonight?
My question for the panel is, regardless of whether Trump wins or not, has he shown a much smarter autocrat how it's done? Like, could we have another Hitler or some other horrendous? It doesn't seem far-fetched to me.
It's a pretty extreme comparison to draw.
Is it?
I mean, Hitler was responsible for the death of 6 million Jews.
Is it extreme?
Well, Trump hasn't.
I don't think it's extreme.
Trump hasn't done anything like that.
Hitler didn't start out this big. It was a small thing and it grew. So let me finish. So we don't know at what point in the trajectory it is, but it doesn't sound far-fetched to me at all.
Cole.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, you know, Hitler obviously, as has been mentioned, is a major and extreme example. But the descent into fascism, the descent into chaos, is a gradual one. And in the history of empires, America is not that old. So I think that this understanding, this sort of belief that sort of the music will keep playing forever and will stay, that's just not true. I think democracies ultimately decline when they're not tended to. And what's happening right now, you're seeing sort of day in and day out as precedent is violated, Donald Trump sort of dismantling that democracy.
Barbara, Trump as an autocrat, do you buy that characterization?
No, let's look at a couple of things. I, too, am an American, love America, always vote. There are few things that I get excited about as much as my vote. But America started on what I think of as the 3 big C's: Christianity, the U.S. Constitution, and also, what's the third one? Christianity, U.S. Constitution.
You really need to remember the third one, Barbara. You're on live television.
Capitalism. I sound like Mitt Romney now, right? I'm going to get rid of these two. And the other is, you know, also the capitalism. But even though I'm an independent, and I've been for many, many years, most of the time I voted with the Democrats. But I feel like what the Democrat Party was many years ago, I didn't leave those ideals and ideologies. I feel like the Democratic Party has left me. Why do we have so much black-on-black crime in these cities that Obama wouldn't talk about, we had a Democratic convention just a couple of weeks ago. From May 25th, Black Lives Matter. That's when George Floyd was killed and held down for 8.5 minutes. He was killed. And from May 25th, right through the Democratic convention, not one word. That was in August, the third week in August, just a couple of weeks ago. Not one mention of the demonstrations and all of the terror that it has caused in so many cities was mentioned at all. And depending on what station you watch, you didn't see a lot of the violence on CNN and other stations. You look at a few channels, and if you look around BBC, you could see where there were killings and thugs and
I'm just going to bring Kylie in here.
I mean, having covered those,
You were covering it. Do you want to just fact check that for us?
People, there's media of all stripes within those moments, and and indeed a number of reporters were injured during their coverage of that. In fact, I think someone from MSNBC. So clearly, these things are being broadcast. I think what's interesting to me politically as an observer is that Donald Trump has been very effective, clearly, at conflating the peaceful protesters with those who are lighting fires and enacting violence, and he's now created this choice. Which is you're either, sorry, can I just finish? That the choice is you're either with the police or you're with the Black Lives Matter, kind of people with violent tendencies on the left. And I think Joe Biden is trying to answer that by saying, look, you can support people who argue against systemic racism, something that's even been acknowledged by George W. Bush, in fact, recently, at the time of those protests. You can acknowledge that that's real, and at the same time, you can criticise the violence.